Chad and I have been working together on different sides, but with the same, folks just like you, law firms looking to grow not just their business, but their life, right, in all different dimensions. And I'm on the chat side with Intaker. Chad is on the marketing side with Foster. I'll let him kind of give the full intro to himself. But if you've been here with us before, you kind of know how this is. I'm Joe, handle partnerships as well as relationships with agencies, legal masterminds, other software vendors for law firms. What Intaker does, what we are all about is increasing empathy, automation, and results for law firms in your intake process and beyond. And just beyond excited to be here with you, Chad. So I guess I'll get out of your way. I'll let you intro yourself and then walk us through what we're going to be talking about today.
Well, first of all, Joe, I appreciate the intro and the warm welcome. I feel like there's a red carpet under my feet right now. It's very, very warm and inviting. And pleasure to be here. I appreciate the invitation. I'm Chad Foster. I'm with Foster Web Marketing. And I'm sure some of you guys know of us. And for those that don't, this is what we do. Full service digital marketing firm, working almost exclusively with attorneys for 25 plus years. We build websites, we've got our own software, and we can do it all for you, with you, or teach you how to do it yourself. That's kind of me wedging in the quick elevator pitch, but that's not necessarily what you're here for today. What you're here for today is how to make your lives more efficient, how to automate potentially your practice. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So we've got this set up. And is everybody, Joe, can you see my screen okay? Is this okay?
Looks very good.
Excellent. Okay. So we've set this up, marketing and intake automation to maximize law firm profits. I mean, I don't know. I doubt I'll be showing anybody fire today. What I am hoping to do is provide a little recalibration, right? A kind of a level set, just kind of let me take a step back and make sure that I'm seeing things in the way that I should be seeing them still, whether it's a practice just starting out or a practice that's been around for 20, 30 years, right? We have different experiences. We tend to kind of lose sight of even the basics, the X's, the O's, the common things. So this is going to be a mix of kind of making sure that you're staying on top of things and just maybe a reevaluation of what your priorities really are. And I think it's really going to start with what you want from your website, right? So are you simply wanting, needing an online business card approach, or are you looking for a sustainable marketing machine? By the way, there's not one right answer to this, right? And so, this presentation is built not to say you need to do this or you need to do that. You need to decide what makes sense for you guys, right? In your practice, in your business. But this is really one of the first questions you got to ask. And it's a simple one. And I probably don't need to go into too much detail, but if you just want an online business card because your referrals are great, your word of mouth, you've been in the community for years, and you don't need to market schmarket, right? I got people just lining up because I'm a great lawyer or we're great lawyers, and great, that's fantastic. If that's all you want, it's all you need, super, right? That's not what most people come to us. It's not what most people say they're looking for, but nevertheless, it is an option. And if that's what you want to do, cool, you probably don't need the rest of this. But for those of you that are looking for more of a marketing machine, something that does more than just validates who you are, that should be a given, right? Any website worth its salt should be, hey, here's who we are, what we do, how we do it, and legitimizes you. It should separate you, though. Also, it should differentiate you from your competition, right? And a key thing there is think about that referrals. Even if you are living mainly off referrals and word of mouth, if so-and-so, if prospect is referred to you as well as firm down the street, right? And they go to check you out. And that's what they're doing. We all know that. They're checking out your website. They're reading reviews, right? Who looks better? Who's got a stronger presence? Perception's reality, right? Who's going to get the first call? And you want it to be you, right? So you've got to have a sharp, crisp wow of a website and user experience. And really, that means that every single page of your website should be considered a information-based user-friendly, conversion-focused experience. In other words, if somebody comes into your home page or a bio page because they were looking for you specifically, great, that's branded search, right? If they find you organically, they're going to go into a blog post or an article or news item, something like that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. However they're coming into your website, every single page of that site needs to be considered a user-friendly, information-based, conversion-focused experience. And the example that I like to give is if you invite somebody to your office and they come into the front door, super. Hopefully the magazines are all lined up and if there's any glass, it's all Windexed, right? Joe's got like 4 bottles of Windex in his office right now. He's very OCD from what I'm told. Yeah, see, there you go. And but if they're coming in through a side door or a back door or basement or a window, whatever, if they go into your conference room and there's no chairs, there's dust bunnies rolling around on the floor, there's pictures, but they're leaning against the wall instead of being hung on the wall. Is that the best perception? Is that the best use of that space? And it's the same thing on your website. If somebody comes into a page on your website and it's just not good, it's empty, it's dull, it's boring, it's not user-friendly, it's not optimized, you're going to lose them, right? You're going to lose them. So every single page, this is important. Every single page then of the site needs to be a user-friendly, information based in conversion focused experience. So couple more things on this is your website, if you want a marketing machine, should be the hub for all your marketing efforts. What do I mean by that? I mean that digital efforts, traditional efforts, it doesn't matter. Everything should be funneling back through your website so that you can track and measure. And by the way, that will not be the last time you hear me say those words today. So track and measure. Now, all this is great, right? And I can have a great, cool looking, user-friendly website. But if I'm not very targeted, if I'm not deliberate with who I'm trying to attract, right? So what does that mean? It means identifying your avatar or avatars. So what's an avatar? Perfect client, right? So what does that mean? And we all know this, right? But do we actually do it? And there's a difference between thinking you know who your avatars or your perfect clients are, as opposed to really documenting it, really taking the time to pen to paper, flesh this whole darn thing out. Who are they? Where are they coming from? What questions are they asking? What words are they using when they're asking those questions? What references are they citing? What examples are they giving, right? To get to that perfect conversation that you want to be having. And then you take that and reverse engineer it and start with, all right, what is the conversation I want to be having? And then what are the words? What are the examples? What are the references? What are the variables in those perfect conversations that I want to kind of glom onto? What kind of questions, situations solicit, right, will get me to those conversations? And then who's going to ask those questions to begin with? So what I just ran you through is a kind of a 1, 2, 3 garden variety perfect client exercise, but then taking it further and reverse engineering it. So I can talk more about that separately later if we want. The bottom line is, if you are not running your avatar or your marketing efforts, again, no matter what they are, billboard, TV, radio, flyer, mailer, blog, right? It doesn't matter. If you are not running them through your avatar exercise, and if they are not passing that litmus test, you're not done. And what we're trying to do there is, we're trying to minimize that standard deviation. Okay. We want to throw darts and hit the bullseye. We don't want them in the outliers. We don't want them hitting the walls. Okay. So I think everybody gets that, but that is so important. All right.
Before you move on, sorry,
Sure.
because this is like so important. I see this is where, people will often rush through with the avatar because they might think they have something in mind. But later on, it really comes to bite them, right? If they're not crystal clear. And so I know there's some simple things you could think of, like demographic, right? Location, age and gender, right? But I think, is there like more of an emotional component for people to consider when they're trying to imagine who is their ideal avatar for their business? Like, is there any, tips you can recommend for looking at like more like a psychographic or other approach there for your avatar?
That's a great question. Other than the fact that I think you just called me psycho, Joe, I'm going to let that one slide. But there is absolutely. part of that is not just who you're looking for, but, you know, who might be looking for you, but again, who you're looking for. We've got clients, for example, that are very, you know, heavy into their faith, and they really want to lean into that. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's important to them. And so by positioning that in their marketing, they're going to attract other faith-based clientele, right? They're going to be drawn to that. That's a community, right? The Latino communities, right? Or any of those kind of, you know, other language communities, right? Great. If you're a part of that community, then take advantage of that. And I don't mean take advantage in a bad way. I mean, you know, take advantage that, hey, we like to work with people that we like. We like to work with people that we trust, right? We like to work with people who we can connect with on a deeper level rather than just transactionally. So is that helpful to answer your question?
You brought up such a good point, which is that even just looking at yourself first, you know, what are your values? Where do you fit in? What is your community? How do you identify? And then how can you take that and make that part of your avatar so that you can serve people that you are aligned with, not just, you know, superficially, but really on like a deeper level. So that was good. Thank you. All right. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, nobody wants to hear me just talk at them, Joe. So, you know, bring it on. So, all right, avatar, right? So what did I say just a few minutes ago? That all of your marketing efforts need to run through your avatar. But what are those marketing efforts, right? I kind of gave you a broad overview, right? Traditional, digital. But what goes into a comprehensive marketing mix? It's content strategy, right? So blogs, articles, FAQs, those are more attraction mediums versus case results, testimonials being more conversion content mediums. In videos, lots of ways to do videos. Do some homegrowns. You know, there's companies out there that will do a, you know, Hollywood-esque type video, and you pay for it, but it's great stuff. There are, you know, information-based videos, you know, green screen. Lots of ways to accomplish these videos, but videos can be a perfect hybrid between attraction and conversion if done right. So those are really valuable. SEO strategies, so on-page optimization and off-page optimization and link building or link earning is another way to think about that. Local SEO, right? Making sure your name, address, and phone number are consistent across the board. And again, these are basics, right? But is sweet abbreviated here and spelled out there? That's problematic, right? You know, Google's not gonna put witnesses on the stand whose testimonies don't line up, right? So think of it like that. So your Google Local is so very important. Building out and leveraging your database, right? Newsletters, drip campaigns, follow-up sequences. So having a good CRM or customer relationship management tool to automate your marketing, right? Work smart, not hard. That's what we want. I've skipped over social media, but in the same way, it's a way to stay top of mind. And I battle with social media all the time. It's a love-hate. It's a love-hate, right? It's valuable to the extent that I want to share private things is something I struggle with, but it's up to you is the bottom line. But it is an opportunity to push information out, stay top of mind, engage, and keep up with your friends and family and what they're doing too. But are you going to get somebody because they saw a Facebook post? Maybe, maybe not. Really, it's more just to reinforce the brand and brand awareness and stay top of mind. Review strategy, reputation management, right? Do you have a reputation or review process, right? We've got a series of best practices that we work with our clients, right? To help kind of boost their reviews. Or is it more kind of like, hey, if they write one, they write one, right? So obviously the former is a better path. There are tools that will make that easier. So you don't have to just kind of ask and hope they go find your Google page and write reviews. But that's another way to kind of automate. You know, there are tools. We have our own social media management tool. There's some others out there. I think Birdseye is one. So there's some options out there to just kind of work smart, not hard. Paid, right? Pay-per-click, LSAs, Facebook ads. You can pay for leads, right? Networking, you know, get grassroots, shoe leather, call it whatever you want. Bottom line is all these things, and if you see this root system, this is an example of kind of how we work with clients and kind of show what a comprehensive marketing strategy entails. The takeaway here is not to be that you need to be doing all these things at 100 miles an hour. Not necessarily. You do need to account for them one way or the other. If only to say, I'm not ready, we're not ready for that, right? Maybe it's phase 2, maybe it's phase 3, maybe it's not necessary, right? But the takeaway here, the action here is making sure that you're accounting for these different variables in your marketing and then deciding using the formula, what you want to get, right? And I love this, Alice in Wonderland, right? Where are you trying to, where do I go? I don't know. So you got to decide, and I'm going to bring it back here to the beginning. You want an online business card or do you want a marketing machine, right? And it starts with this very simple formula. What are your baselines? Where are you at now? Are you measuring against profit, about, open files? Is it about quality of life? What are your baselines, right? And if I asked 5 different lawyers that same question, I might get 3 or 4 different answers, right? What are your goals? Same thing. What are your goals? And even though you think that everybody's going to have the same goals or similar goals, they're not necessarily. So be clear. What are your goals? Where are you trying to get to? And then you can figure out, all right, so what does my budget allow to get there, meet those goals? And then what's my time worth to execute those goals or execute the action to meet those goals, or to have somebody do that on my behalf? All right, Joe, that was the first section. How do we do?
I love it. I am going to ask you to step back and one question, but before I ask the question, right, I want to take a moment here. First of all, I forgot to announce in the beginning, chat is open. We'd love to hear from you where you're at in the world. But for those people who are here, who are really present, taking notes, I want you to think about this, right? And what Chad just said, this is probably the most important part, the whole thing, right? Where are you at now? Where do you want to go? If you know those 2 things, you can find a way to get there. There's plenty of people out there who can help you, but Chad and I, we'll get to that later. We're happy to, just talk and see if there's something we can do. But I'd like to ask if anyone is brave and willing, and you know what your goal is. If you have clarity, you know where you want to go with your law firm, whether that's building a remote law firm that doesn't need you there every day, whether that is expanding to dominate your local market, or if it's something maybe just, more time with the family, whatever that is, share it in the chat. I would love to see if anyone's willing to do that. I think we can make this into something that just brings us a little bit closer together. Chad, if you can next just go back 1 slide, you showed that map of the different marketing mix. And, you said people don't need to focus on all of these at once, but they need to be accounted for somehow. My question is there one that is the starting point that they should focus on first? If maybe their marketing is all over the place right now, what would be that one thing to hone in on that would help lay the foundation for everything else? Would it be the website and the SEO? I see that's directly under the tree, but I wanted to get your take.
Well, it's interesting the way you just asked me that, because would it be the website and SEO? Because that's 2 things, right? So what's the one thing? And here's 2 things. But the answer is it's not one thing. Obviously, if you had to boil it all down, and this question does come up, I actually haven't had it in a while, but it has come up, it used to come up a lot in the past. Like, all right, I hear you, Chad, right? Like we've got some doctor clients as well. And it's like, hey, I want to get running again, right? I'm talking to a podiatrist. I want to get running again. All right, these are the 5 things you need to do to get healthy and start running in. Okay, but what's the one thing I can do? What's the one thing right? So that's the question you're asking. What's the one thing I can do to kind of like, all right, I know I won't be able to enter a marathon. I know I won't be able to really kind of be street running, but what can I do to like maybe hobble a little bit easier? It obviously does start with the website, right? And if that's what you want. And again, going back to that earlier question, business card or marketing machine. And we're going to deconstruct that even more here in just a second. But that's where you need to start is a website, choosing which one, choosing which approach you want, and then applying the formula. What are your baselines? What are your goals? What's your budget allow? And what's your time worth? Okay. All right. That was not an exact answer, but it's kind of a loaded question, which I think you already knew, Joe.
Well, you kind of surprised me a little bit, but yes, sounds good, Chad. We're good.
Oh, good. I like to be full of surprises. I like to be full of surprises. If let me answer, I'm going to give you this answer. Okay. If you are starting out, you have nothing. Okay. I'm going to tell you that you need to focus on reviews and building out content on your site. Okay. Obviously built around the avatar, but again, what did I just say? Right. That's 3 things I just gave you. There isn't one thing, but reviews are going to save you, or are going to have the most, give you the most traction with the least amount of resistance if done right.
Smart.
How's that?
Love it. Love it. See, that was
Okay.
not what I expected, but I got something from it. Thank you, man.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. All right. But that reviews goes into your Google My Business page and make sure. So there's all these other splintering effects from it. So it's not as simple like, yeah, do this one thing. If
I
only,
guess,
Joseph.
shameless plug, Chad. I know we're not plugging too much, but because Intaker just launched a reputation management tool, if you're already part of the Intaker family, reach out to me. Happy to help you get started. If you want to learn more, then you'll get to the end and we'll give you the what to do next. Very cool. Thank you, Chad.
I have no problems with shameless plugs, Joe.
Every
So,
now and
all right, I told you I was going to deconstruct this, right? And so we're going to run through this pretty quick. But going back to what do you want out of a website, right? Knowing that the website is the hub for all your marketing efforts, you got to ask yourself, do you want open source or closed source? And so friend or foe. So real quick, open source is what? It's in software that's really kind of built and made for anybody. Some of the most common, since we're talking about websites, some of the more common open source content management systems are Squarespace, Weebly, Wix, WordPress. Let me clarify, I'm neither endorsing nor poo-pooing on any of these platforms. There is nothing inherently wrong with any of them. They're perfectly good platforms for a lot of companies, a lot of businesses. Okay. And some of them even law firms. We don't use these for a number of reasons, which we're going to get into. But some of the pros, right? They're relatively inexpensive to publish, right? There's lots of users, right? You've heard WordPress thrown around probably more than any of them because they've been around the longest. There's lots of businesses that service and support, right? Because it is all open source. Lots of plugins available for these platforms. You can access directly, update, add, optimize your content. And for you serial daters out there, you can pick it up and go whenever you want and just kind of go from one date to the next date, the next partner, and so forth and so on. Some of the cons, plugins aren't always compatible, right? Because the plugins are developed by third-party vendors trying to build on open source. And you may not know if plugin A is compatible with plugin B for a day, a week, a month, longer, because it may just be working in the background, causing problems, wreaking havoc. You don't know. Lots of bad actors. I've been in this business a long time, and I've got more than a few horror stories. Susceptible to hacks and attacks. One of those horror stories, we brought on a client somewhat recently who decided that their PI site shouldn't be featuring adult videos that were hacked on their open source platform site. And so, if you wanted to talk to Janice, for a live hot chat, then super. But if you're looking for a PI attorney, then probably want to go another direction. So, subject to false sense of security, we have that in there because there's a false narrative out there that Google they prefer WordPress. That is not actually true. They don't not love them, but they don't love them more than anyone else or anything else. The reality is WordPress has been around longer than the other open source platforms, right? So there's just more users because they've been around the longest. More plugins have been created for WordPress because they've been around the longest. That also means more viruses and more more hacks have been built to attack WordPress sites. But it's not that Google prefers, inherently loves, favors WordPress. They don't. They look at everything evenly. It's just that more people are, it's a volume. So it's a bit of fun with numbers there as twisted. But so you can get that false sense of security that, hey, we're with a Google preferred partner. It's not true. They're limiting, and because frankly, CMS does one thing and one thing only: content management. What about the rest of your marketing mix, though? Right? So then what about the cons for a closed source, right? And full disclosure, Foster Web Marketing, we have our dynamic self-syndication software platform. It is closed source. And probably one of the most common things that I've heard over the years is, I want more control. So there's a perception of loss of control. It's not reality, but it's a perceived loss of control. Maybe you like to have things spread out more. I like this vendor here and that vendor there and that partner here and that partner there. And I want to diversify all of this and kind of have all these passwords and logins and be able to keep up with. Maybe an all-in-one platform, it's got more than what you want or need right now for your practices. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe it's got limitations to what you want to be able to do. I want to be able to do this in my platform, and the software you're using does not allow for that. And so, all right, there's a possibility that folks look at kind of short-term costs and say, I don't know if I can invest that much. I don't know. And so that can hold you back. And the biggest one that I've seen over the years is really resistance to change, right? Whether that's directly, right? Maybe that's you guys on this call, but of course not, because everybody here is very open-minded, right? But maybe it's your team, right? Because change is great as long as it doesn't affect me, right? Right. All right. So what are some of the pros of a closed source? It really comes down to, again, asking that question: do you like all-in-one solution, or do you want a piecemeal approach? All-in-one solution, they tend to be more effective, more secure, a whole lot more efficient. But again, it comes down to what is right for you. So that was kind of a deconstruction of what goes, kind of the website platform that you need to start with, and then how you kind of make things easier. Do you want to spread out, or do you want to kind of be more efficient? It's up to you guys. Baselines, goals, budget, time value, right? All right, Joe, how do we do on that?
I am learning a little more than when we did the run through. I think we're good, Chad. There's one question. I was thinking about holding it to the end. You know what? We'll hold it to the end. By the way, if others have questions, just dump them in the chat right now. We'll go through them. I'll do my best to take care of them on the chat, but we'll get to the Q&A after this. And then we can take all those questions and maybe bring someone up live if we got time. So anyway, I think that's all. So tell me a little more about like the DSS tool, because I know Intaker integrates with it. It's something that can track leads from multiple sources, but it's more than just for lead tracking, right? Like, can someone edit or add their own content on the DSS? Like, how does some of that work?
Well, when we ran through this, Joe, you did not tell me you were going to ask me this, but I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did. So yeah, our software, dynamic self-syndication, it's what all of our sites are built on. It's what they're all powered by. It is proprietary. Yes, that can be perceived to be a bad thing. We obviously don't think so. DSS does everything that those WordPress and like do, albeit better, and then more. Because if you're doing a Venn diagram, the content management system is one thing that DSS does, but then it also is, design elements, content management. It's social. It's social media syndication, it's CRM capability, it's lead tracking, conversion tracking, behavioral tracking. It's really, we talked about the marketing mix. You can pretty much do everything you want or need just in this one space. So much more effective, so much more efficient. And we have invested a lot of money over the years in our security so that so we don't get Janus popping up asking for if you're looking for a good time.
Who does not work for Intaker, everybody. If you see Janice
Yeah.
for the hot
No,
chat.
Janice has no affiliation with Intaker as far as I know. As far as I know.
That's good. Well, hey, Chad, I mean, this actually makes sense because I see on the screen that video management is one of those things that can be, you know, and these are things that they're not necessarily walled off. Someone can go ahead and if they do shoot a new video, they can go ahead and they don't have to wait. They can upload some of this themselves, I'm guessing. But I guess the question was, you know, Ron Kohler asked in the chat, you know, content they know is important, but when asking about building content, you know, should they prioritize video over written content? You know, I imagine you need both, but is there any insight you can shed on that about how to maybe think about building content to rank well for your website, et cetera?
Yeah, great question. And so I would say it again goes back to identifying your avatar or avatars. Who is this content created for? Who is it intended to attract and speak to? So part of that exercise is identifying their problem, their pain, and then creating content that information, you know, that speaks to their problems, that addresses their pain, right? And so and then speak to them in a level in which they are speaking and communicating, right? Is it more on an affluent level? Is it more on a you know, middle school level, right? If you're writing for if you're trying to attract other lawyers, super. Cite precedent all day long. Right, you know, writing lawyerese till the sun goes down, right? But if you're looking for what most folks are looking for, there's somewhere in the middle of all that, right? As far as content versus video, I mean, video is content. So blogs and FAQs are the most common. You know, we've seen some pretty significant changes over the last few years. With Google, best practices, length of content. So short form content is not as effective as it used to be. Google's looking for longer form. In other words, blogs now need to be what articles used to be. So 1,000 words, 1,500 words, the longer, the better. I mean, you don't want to write, you know, whole, you know, depositions, but you're able to kind of naturally seamlessly working the keywords and the answers to those questions. So blogs and FAQs are places I would tell you to start from a content standpoint, written content that is, but video also being content. Do you want FAQ style videos, 30 seconds to 2.5 minutes? Ask the question, answer the question. What's the call to action? That's a good formula for that type of style. You can do a branded video or an ego-based video, which is a lot of what the fancier videos out there are. And we've done plenty of those too, and they're awesome. They're super effective. Those are not attraction videos. Those are conversion videos. You got to get somebody to your door first, right? It's just like your website. You can have the coolest, sharpest, prettiest darn website this side of the Mississippi. But if nobody knows it's there, if you're not optimizing, if you're not creating content, if you're not, then it doesn't matter, because the only people who are going to see it are the folks that you've personally invited, right? So, or to use another analogy, it's, you know, you have a beautiful Ferrari, but if you don't put gas in it, it's going to look really sharp in your driveway.
This is that is helpful. And you know, there's one more thing, and Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not as much of an expert here, but you know, recently within the past year or two, I think that Google did change their process to rank videos a little more highly. Sorry, excuse me, rank websites with videos a little more highly than websites that don't have any video content. So first of all, am I off on that, or does that kind of match what you've heard too?
It's been an emphasis for a long time. I mean, I had somebody tell me recently, hey, videos are the future. Like, man, videos have been the future for the last 10 years. So, you know, there's different, again, I just rolled through a number of types of videos and ways to execute. Little TikTok videos, Joe, I know you're a big TikTok dancer.
Oh man,
right?
Yeah, a long time. I don't know about that.
Seeing you do the kid and play kick step, it's really impressive. But you know, that's another style of quick hit video, right? So, and by the way, there's not one right way to do that. There are wrong ways to do it. Like if the audio sucks and the lighting is terrible, it's still better than nothing, most likely. But, you know, having, again, a diversified content portfolio and video portfolio is the answer. So that is, again, a long, windy explanation to answer that there's no simple choose this one. Just, you know, prioritize and kind of build out that content portfolio. And just kind of one more point on that. It's like, and what we're going to get to, maybe Joe, you were segueing perfectly into the next and last section, but conversion elements. Shall we go there?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, beautiful. So conversion elements. You may like to fill out a contact form. Somebody else might like to download a book or report, right? Somebody else might want to call. Somebody else might want to chat, right? Different engagement points. This goes back to what we said in the beginning. Every single page should be considered a user-friendly, information-based, conversion-focused experience, right? And it's different strokes for different folks. You can have some folks that prefer to call. You can have some folks that prefer to fill out a contact form. You can have some folks like, hey, I want to chat, right? I want to talk to this young lady here in the bright blue, right? And nowadays, and this is my humble plug for you at Intaker, and we've worked with a number of chat companies over the years, and there are still a few that there are only a few that we endorse. But the more that we use this and the more that we recommend it, the better results we get, the more we see, right? People, meaning prospective clients, like this tool that you guys have created, which is why we spent so much time together. Because Joe, I like you, but I love your chat tool, right? Don't take that hard. Take it the right way. But
I love you too, buddy.
Yeah, because there's different options, right? Like I gave you some different options: open source, closed source, content management systems. There's different CRMs. There's different chat companies. You can automatic AI, auto AI. You can plug it in where you are managing it internally, which is very inefficient. You can talk to somebody in a chat center. This is really engaging, really smart and well done. And again, we've gotten some great results using Intaker.
Chad, I think the takeaway here is that whether you're using Intaker or another chat, if you're serious about growing your firm, having the best experience for your users, which is going to be related to their overall satisfaction with your service, then you need different options for different people, right? Some people hate chat and they never use it, even if it's Intaker. Other people will just never call you. You're just never going to call your firm, especially if you're in, working more with Gen Z, millennials, younger consumers. This is kind of what the industry is moving towards. I know years ago, phone calls used to make up 90% of all leads typically for a law firm. These days, it might be 80%, it might be 70%, but it's going down. And what's happening is more people are using contact forms are not, taking off. They're a little bit old school too, but using a chat as a conversion tool, or like you've said, a lead magnet, like a free download, depending on if you're a divorce attorney, a book on, how to get through a divorce without hurting your family, right? Whatever it is, there are ways to really speak to the needs, and it's not manipulation. It is simply service, right?
Yeah.
So whatever tool you use, make sure that it kind of hits this checklist, right? That it is personalized. They do feel like they're getting something that is a warmer, more empathetic kind of connection than just a hi, welcome to our law firm on the chat. Make sure that it delivers some of that empathy, creates that trust. And then the other thing here, I know we're a little bit over, so thank you all for sticking around. We're going to wrap this up in a minute. When it comes to, getting someone on the phone, that is, if you have a chat there and really, you're able to close clients on the phone, and the chat is really a tool to facilitate that phone call, then make sure you're using something that has that live transfer feature. Now, I wouldn't necessarily have promoted that, a few months ago because Intaker, well, we just released our live call connect feature. And so if you're using Intaker now, you want to learn how to take those web chats and turn them into inbound phone calls for your law firm instantly, then, talk to me after. But just make sure that whatever tools you're using, you're not creating a delay. You're not leaving too much time between when someone reaches out and when you get back to them. So again, what that Chad said on that marketing mix intake, make sure that your processes work with your marketing so that you deliver that best impression and that you're not leaving someone on hold for too long. That's what I wanted to say.
Good, great points. And I'll add this. Remember that chat, whether it's Engage or whoever, that is a conversion tool, not an attraction tool. People aren't coming to your website because of chat. They're coming to your website because of your marketing mix. Chat is a conversion tool, the way a contact form is, the way a phone number is, right? Those are conversion tools. Same thing as, unique value propositions, books, reports, guides, downloads. If they're not ready to talk to anybody yet, but they're still doing their homework, they're still doing their due diligence, great. Offer this content in exchange for their contact info, which then goes into your database. So now you can hit them with your newsletters and drip campaigns and follow-up sequences, etc. Meanwhile, aligning you as the expert and giving them a clear path back to you. So it just works in so many, on so many levels here. But ultimately, right? Ultimately, it's about bringing people to your website, your avatars, right? Answer their questions, answer all subsequent follow-up questions, do everything that you said that you were going to do. And then once you've done that, you get to tell them what you want them to do, which is pick up the phone, fill out a contact form, engage in a chat, right? Download this, convert, right? And then track and measure everything, rinse and repeat the good stuff and purge the bad. But you can use actionable data if you are managing it through, well, ideally in one place, but however you need to manage it, track and measure so that you're making decisions based on data, not guesstimation. Okay. So the last thing is bringing it all home, right? So now what? Reflect on the formula. What are your baselines? What are your goals? What does your budget allow? And what is your time worth to meet those goals? I can't answer those for you. I can only lay out the path. There we go.
You're the man. Chad, thank you for that. I know we just covered a lot and we're a little bit over, but thank you everyone for sticking around. If there's questions that we did not address, we'll hang out for a little bit. So please pop them into the chat. However, maybe you are coming out of this thinking, I don't want my website to just be an online business card. I would like to make it work for me, because your website and your digital footprint, especially if you've been putting this off, because I know even I can have a tendency to put off things that I know are important. And if this is something that you've put off for a long time and you're thinking, what does my future look like? Beyond a month, 6 months, a year, think 5 years, think 10 years, right? Are the methods that you're using to attract clients and stay in business now, are you sure they're going to be reliable in 5 or 10 years? The industry is changing, we know, but there are certain things that are going to remain the same, right? Local SEO, focusing on reviews, right, is a big thing. Your website really communicating your brand, your message with the right, a message for your audience. And if you're not yet using some of these tools or start thinking about how to do this, then I know Chad would be happy to talk to you. I'm happy to talk, especially anything on the conversion side, on the intake side, on the automation side. But I think, how can people maybe get in touch if they wanted to go a little deeper with you, Chad?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to look at anything for anybody, just about any time, and no strings attached. I mean, I think it's just good business. I'm in the relationship business as much as anything. That's the way I look at it. And if I do right by you, say nice things, right? There's my email. Here's Joe's. You're welcome to email me directly. Joe has got Joe has got a QR code there for you if you
Oops.
want to book some time with him. I gave you fwmanalysis.com if you want me to take a look at your website and get together for a more personal chat. And I'll tell you, I'll call balls and strikes, and then you can do with it what you want. Open to do it always.
Chad, this was one of my favorite webinars so far. So thank you for going
Yay.
there. I hope everyone got something out of this. I know I maybe asked you to get a little bit too sensitive, sharing your deepest goals and desires in the chat, but you don't have to share it with me. You don't have to share it with Chad, but do think about it. Do take the time after this. We're ending a little bit early, so you have a little bit of time to really think about this and just write it down and keep it somewhere that you're going to see it, right? Because the more you do that, the more it's going to stay present. And you, even without even noticing, you might start taking those actions towards making that goal. But if there's one thing you can commit to today, do it. And if that's reaching out to me or Chad, seeing if there's anything we can do to help, we're not going to charge you. You know, it'd be great if you eventually decide that what we do works for you, but you don't even have to do that. We're here to help. We're here to serve. Thank you, Chad. Anything else?
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, everyone. I hope you got a lot out of this, or at least one thing out of it.